Esquire is with me. He's been studying some documents that we've secured exclusively here on Ghana Tonight. And it's it's good to have you, as always.
Perfect.
Mr. Esquire, let's get into the documents as you have it. But first off, let's start for the uninitiated. Who is Mildred Donkor, and how has this case indeed proceeded over the period?
Well, so Mildred Donkor is one of the accused persons in the ongoing trial of the former National Signals Bureau Director General, and 4 others. So he's one of the 4. On the charge sheet, she's labeled as the 3rd accused person. The first accused person being Adu Boahene, the former National Signals Bureau boss. His wife, who is the 2nd accused person. Mildred, a former banker. We understand she resigned from the bank to join one of the companies that was established by the 1st and the 2nd accused persons as part of the facts presented by prosecution. And then the last person on that charge sheet is Advantage Solutions, which is one of the entities that was set up by the 1st and 2nd accused persons. So Mildred Donkor, in essence, is one of the persons that the Attorney General is after in respect of this particular matter. She is named as the 3rd accused person.
This National Signals Bureau scandal?
Yes.
I see.
And you do recall that when we segregated the charges as to what was labeled against who, we found out that 8 of the charges were against Adu Boahene himself in respect of money laundering, using public funds for profit, obtaining public property by false statements, and all. But the emphasis tonight is for us to look at what charges were specifically labeled against Mildred, because it's a subject matter for tonight, and she happens to be so Mildred is the 3rd accused person. So here you see that 2 counts or 2 charges were specifically against her in respect of money laundering and 1 conspiracy to commit money laundering. So what we are learning now is the fact that the Attorney General has taken a move to drop these charges against Mildred Donkor. In exchange for that, Mildred Donkor is now going to be a prosecution witness. What it means in essence is that she will be testifying for the states. And what that also means is that she now gets to testify against persons who were her co-accused. So that's the latest development we're getting now.
I see.
And this is the notice of withdrawal from the Attorney General's office, indicating, as would have it, take notice.
We've got exclusive detail of this detail.
That the Honorable Attorney General has, pursuant to Section 59 of the Criminal and Other Offences Procedure Act 1960, Act 30, we'll look at what's contained in Section 59 of Act 30, that withdrawn Mildred Donkor, the 3rd accused person herein, from prosecution in respect of all the charges brought against her in this case. So this is the notice. Hopefully tomorrow, this will be moved and properly be dealt with. She will be taken out, and then the next processes will be on the docket of the courts. What this also means is that, together with this, is her witness statement. Now a witness for prosecution. Remember, we have also looked in other episodes the kind of witnesses the prosecution intends to put before the court. In fact, those witness statements have already been filed.
True.
So this will also go on to add into that, including a driver who was said to have been facilitating the movement of money from the first accused person to Mildred, who is said to be a banker at the time. So that is exactly what is happening now.
You know, it's an interesting development because of how the context that you put it. The fact that now this 3rd accused is now going to serve as a witness for the prosecution, in this case the Attorney General, against these persons that she was earlier standing trial with. And that effectively leads to the charges against her being dropped. So so her plate has been wiped clean.
Yes.
To the extent that she's agreed to serve as
a prosecution witness. But let's look at what is provided for under Section 59 of the Criminal and Other Offences Procedure Act, as stated in that notice by the Attorney General. It talks about withdrawal from prosecution and preliminary investigations. So when you look at 59(1), it says that in a trial or preliminary proceedings before a district court, a prosecutor, with the consent of the court, or on the instructions of the Attorney General at any time before judgment is pronounced or an order of committal is made, may withdraw from the prosecution of a person generally or in respect of any one or more offenses with which that person is charged. The withdrawal could either be in generic terms or generally or in respect of any or more offenses. What it means is that it could actually have been a withdrawal of just one charge.
Right.
But in this case, we see from the notice the Attorney General saying that all charges preferred against Mildred Donkor
have been withdrawn.
So that is generally. Now, when you look at it, it proceeds to say that's from 4. Those are the relevant portions. And indeed, sections 2 and 3 of this particular, the subsections 2 and 3 of section 59 have been repealed. So that's how come you don't see those there. But section 4 says that a discharge of an accused under this section shall not operate as a bar to subsequent proceedings against the accused on account of the same facts. It means the window is not shut when we come under this particular provision.
Interesting.
Now, this is instructive because when I started off, I made reference to a district court.
Sure.
People may be asking if we are dealing with a district court. Subsection 5 answers that question. That the provisions of the proceedings, the provisions of the preceding subsections shall apply mutandis mutandis. That means with the necessary modifications to summary trials before the High Court or a circuit court. So that answers the question of whether this applies to the High Court where this trial is ongoing, since the provision speaks about a district court. So this is the provision under which the Attorney General comes to have Mildred now testify against the co-accused and also get the charges against her dropped in respect of this particular matter. So that's where we find ourselves today. But Alfred, if you remember, the last issue that happened, or the last major thing that happened in courts, was to the effect that counsel for the first and second accused persons, mind you, Mildred was also part of the 3, or the accused persons that was represented by the learned Samuel Atachia. Right. Along the line, she disengaged his service.
Sure.
So what it means is that she still does not have a lawyer on record when it comes to proceedings before the court. But the development before the court was to the effect that they had filed for a discovery of some documents because they wanted the Attorney General to disclose some documents. They were talking about some national security documents that go as far back as 1992. Exactly. You recall the High Court dismissed that. They went on appeal. So they were before the High Court to move an application for a stay of proceedings while they pursue that appeal. So on the last agenda date, the court was supposed to have made a ruling on that, but they had to adjourn because of some developments. So the expectation is that when the court sits tomorrow, it will look at those matters, including this particular new development which has just come up. So that's just by essence of bringing up to speed what has been happening in respect of that matter. But the latest now being Mildred now becoming a prosecution witness rather than an accused person as she previously was.
Some very important and excellent detail there, Dennis. Please stay with me because there's a point that you make about the specific provision that the Attorney General comes under and the fact that there would have actually been an option of dropping just one of the 2 charges. The Attorney General has gone in for the full package of dropping both charges against Mildred. We'll explore that in a bit. Martin People is private legal practitioner. He's joining us on Zoom right now on this issue. Counsel, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight.
Good evening, Mr. Counsel. Good.
Now, looking at the clear detail of the provision and the context that Dennis has laid, solid one for this conversation tonight, how does this latest development in this case strike you? Now that the Attorney General has dropped all charges against Mildred Donkor, the third accused, in this National Signals Bureau scandal because she has now agreed to serve as a prosecution witness to testify against the other accused persons. How does this strike you?
Well, How it strikes me is that the noose is tightening around the neck of Adu Boahene and his wife. Yes, the noose is tightening around them. And of course, we all reckon that they are not guilty yet. Article 19, Clause 2 says the person is innocent until proven guilty. Okay. But with Mildred jumping ship, it means that now Edu Boahene and his wife are effectively like Bonnie and Clyde. You know, Bonnie and Clyde in US history, you find a couple who used to be involved in conflict with the law. Okay, so if the state wins the case against Edubwa and his wife, they will be Ghana's Bonnie and Clyde. Yeah, you know, if you, for those who don't know, you would see Jay-Z has a song, Bonnie and Clyde. Yeah, that's for those who follow Jay-Z, the US rapper.
Interesting.
So
And then
basically, it tells you that the noose is tightening. Yes, because for somebody who was intimately involved in the transactions to offer to testify for the prosecution, that's it. Except also, I mean, because we are discussing law, let's also bring the other side of the coin, which is that usually for lawyers, it's not mandatory in all cases. There's this old evidence teacher, you hear Jekedako. Those days, he would say that if you want to use somebody like this as an accomplice, he should first be tried and then he should plead guilty. So there used to be that practice. And that practice, you will find it in the case of State versus Archery, where, I mean, decades ago, it used to be fashionable that the accomplice should first plead guilty or be found guilty, and then he'll be used against the other accused persons. But it looks like now we are no longer insisting on that. So Mildred Donkor can be let go of, and then she can come and testify against Adu Boahene and his wife.
I see. And you see, as Dennis captured earlier, the Attorney General had the option of dropping one of two charges. It's gone in for the full package, dropped all two charges against Mildred Donkor, as she has now agreed to serve as prosecution witness. That's the decision to, as it were, go in for the full package of dropping all charges. Is it conterminous with the weight of the prosecution witness as Mildred is now and what she is really bringing onto the table?
Presumably, because you and I don't have visibility on the evidence to be presented. So once the prosecutor, that's the Attorney General and his deputy, have chosen to do this, then we can only presume that it is worth it. And of course, you know, they know the stakes are very high, that Ghanaians are generally following this with keen eyes and hoping to get conviction, okay? I mean, and so for the Attorney General to take such a step, it tells you that it must be worth the while of the Attorney General. Yeah, let's not forget the Attorney General is also in the business of making sure that he meets our expectations. You remember he said that the first press conference was what? Trailer in Manila.
Yes.
Then the next one would be what?
Rumble in the jungle.
So Dr. Dominica Ayiri knows how to, you know, carry the citizens along. So it's not lost on him at all that if it turned out that the weight of the evidence is underwhelming, citizens will come for him. So I'm sure it is not lost on him at all that this decision to withdraw better be worth it. Otherwise, the backlash would cause irreparable damage. So on the basis of that, you know, generally, because Ayene has been a distinguished teacher over the decades, I mean, people who sat in his class, including myself, all would acknowledge that Ayene was always very clear-headed, okay? brilliant lawyer, right? At least as an academic, and so haven't come into prosecution. And of course, he's a practitioner as well. But I'm emphasizing his academic prowess. That there was way that clarity of thought in his arguments and his teachings and everything. So the main point I'm making is that he knows very well that to decide to discontinue, yeah, let me use a different word, against Mildred Donkor, what Mildred Donkor is bringing to the table must be worth it. Otherwise, citizens would come for him. That's Dr. Ayine. And so I believe he would have struck the balance well.
And I do agree with you on this. Well, thank you, Counsel. Thank you so much for spending some time with us on this matter. The coming days is one to watch. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Martin Kpebu is private legal practitioner there. And Dennis, he makes a point about this decision that the Attorney General is taking and the path that the Attorney General is taking, that in the view of Martin Kpebu, it must be worth that decision to drop all 2 charges because he's going for the full package because he had options under this provision.
Yes, he does. But he has chosen clearly what he thinks is the best for him. But Alfred, let's also mention that we are picking information as to the kind of testimony that Mildred will be giving in respect of this matter. She'll be testifying along the lines of how she met the other accused persons, i.e. accused person number 1 and 2, Adu Boahene and the wife. She'll also be testifying in respect of the role she played when she was at the bank and how she was receiving monies. She also testified on how she left the bank and the circumstances under which she left the bank and was offered an opportunity to work for the first and second accused persons. And working for the first and second accused persons, she was engaged, or the fourth accused person was the company that she was working at.
Yeah.
She also indicates how she was involved in the setting up of another company and even how much she was paid and all that. So all that is expected to, and she'll be putting in evidence email correspondence, pay slips, employment letters, and all of that. So clearly, it speaks to how the Attorney General is convinced that using that person will inure to the benefit of prosecution in this particular matter. So clearly, we look forward to see how the coming days will look like in this particular matter. Hopefully, we're in court tomorrow. We'll keep tabs on proceedings and we'll bring the latest to viewers on this particular matter, Alfred.
And it's important. And let's recall these persons that you talk about, these accused persons, and how things are going to play out in court tomorrow, and the charges that all these accused persons will have to answer to, especially because of this latest development as we're having it now, Dennis, with respect to these charges. Let's recall that quickly, and then we're going to close chapter on this particular issue. But
well,
this is
so in respect to the first accused person, who is the person of Adu Boahene, he's been charged with 3 counts of stealing, 1 count of conspiracy to steal, another count of defrauding by false pretense, a count of willful causing financial loss to the state, a count of using public office for profit, also 1 on obtaining public property by false statements, another on money laundering, and 1 on conspiracy to commit money laundering. In respect of the second accused person, who is in the person of Angela Adu Boahene, she is charged with conspiracy to steal, a count of money laundering, another on collaboration to commit a crime, to wit, using public office for profit, then 1 on conspiracy to commit money laundering. Then the third accused person, these charges have been dropped against her, so it's safe for us to move to the last person, who is an artificial person, a count of money laundering, and also another on conspiracy to commit money laundering. So these are the charges that have been leveled against now 3 accused persons. And moving forward, the trial will be against these persons. So this is just by way of recap.
There was a question as to whether Mildred Donkor can be described as a star witness in this case.
Star witness, that is for prosecution itself to decide who their star witness would be. But of course, it's a material witness at this particular point.
I do appreciate you for this.